For our next session, we have with us Mr. Shivakumar.
Good afternoon. Check. On. Hello. Yeah. Am I audible? Yeah. So thank you for that wonderful introductory speech. So would you guys believe that this speech was generated by an AI? The one which you heard for me, Anto, and for other speakers as well. Would you guys believe it or not? Would you guys believe it? Yes. So would you guys have you thought that 2 or 3 years back that we would use AI to generate introduction speeches or uh, music or art or any sort of that thing? Have you thought or have you heard anywhere 2 or 3 years back? No, right? So today we are going to talk about generative AI, which is an emerging field, which you might have been hearing from the last 7-8 months. Have you guys heard or not generative AI? Have you guys heard? From when did you start hearing? After what? ChatGPT. So so ChatGPT is one of the techniques in generative AI which is becoming very popular now. And I know you guys are all from commerce background, but you might be thinking why generative AI for us? Why a technical knowledge for us? And I will answer this at the end of the session. So before moving to that, in order to explain in a non-technical terms for you guys, ChatGPT, generative AI is a subset of AI that focuses on creating content rather than you might have heard AIs where it was used for classifying objects or image detection problems previously. But instead of identifying or classifying, here we are using AI to create content on its own from the sample data what we have on the training data. And as I told, ChatGPT or generative AI, it works on predefined. Conventional AI works on predefined patterns, whereas generative AI models learn from large data sets to generate novel and realistic content. So, in order to create content, we are not going on a predefined pattern on anything. We are using large data sets. You know how much data was used for ChatGPT to generate the text which it is generating now? It's around somewhere around 45 million text conversations. So that is the data set size which we are talking about. So as I told, there are several AI techniques which we use. One of them is generative adversarial networks, GANs. So here there will be two networks in the GANs. One is a generator and a discriminator, and they compete against each other to produce high quality content. And the second one is variational autoencoders. Here we encode and decode the data points, and we try to generate data points by sampling from that space. And the next one is language models. As I was saying, it might be ChatGPT or Google Bard or Perplexity as well. So now let's look at a few of the applications. These are not related to analytics or anything. These are general applications of generative AI. The first one is intelligent virtual assistants. So you might have heard that you can take ChatGPT help or Google Bard help to schedule your day. If you give some suggestions, if you give what all the things you need to do, it can schedule your day. And the next is language translation. As they are language models, they are very good at understanding the context and it can remember what the context was in the previous chat as well. So they can perform the language translation as well. And the next one is writing support. I guess you guys might have used, right? If you have got an assignment and there is a question, you might have gone and asked ChatGPT to give you the answer. Has anyone done it or not? Yes. So yeah, this is one of the applications. Another one is personalized content generation. I guess most of you guys have seen memes where like after ChatGPT, the content creators will be gone and it might create contents where you might not need other content creators as well. The next one is interactive learning. So you can use generative AIs to learn new technologies or skills in an interactive format. And also you can use generative AI for brainstorming and idea generation. So you can ask queries related to what you are trying to solve, and you can give a few context related to that, and it can help you in brainstorming and idea generation. The next one is entertainment and storytelling. I guess all of you would have tried give me a story on a thriller segment or comedy segment. All of you might have tried it using ChatGPT. So now let's look at some applications where we use on a daily basis in our company. So the first one is we will be asking to write emails. So the first one is write me a lie for not attending a meeting in the form of a poem. So this is what ChatGPT came up with. I will have to miss the meeting today. My apologies, I cannot stay. I wish I could give a valid reason, but alas, my mind is out of season. And the next one is we are working on a technical tools, and we will be writing codes, and we have to debug it. So before the use of ChatGPT, we used to go on Google, search the query, and we used to look at lot of Stack Overflow and those kind of things. And it would take us 2-3 hours to do that, and we would always get errors as well, and it would take us again 2 to 6 hours to solve it. So after ChatGPT, we will get the code in like 5 minutes. But I guess if you have used it in a technical tool, you would have understand most of the times it will give you good results, but sometimes it will give you codes which might take forever for you to debug the code. And as coming to the applications in real world, which is related to analytics, the first one is data synthesis. Data synthesis in terms of analytics will be like generating synthetic data, where in terms of financial transactions, you will be having legitimate transactions and fraud transactions. But how do you think will be the percentage of each? So if there are 95% of legal transactions, there would be 5 to 10% of fraudulent transactions. So you see, for an AI model, you should provide equal number of transactions so that it can learn both the patterns of it. So there is a scarcity in the fraudulent data, and most of it, what it learns is legal transaction patterns. So what it tries to do is it will tell all the transactions as legal, and it will say I'm 90% accurate. So we cannot believe that, right? We will be having few fraud transactions which will be going, and we'll be having losses in it. So that is one case where we can use generative AI to synthesize the fraudulent data. So this will help us in generating a balanced data set, which helps in identifying more fraud transactions and helps in reducing false positives. So you might have done a transactions where the bank calls you and tell that we identified it as a fraud transaction. So we can solve those kind of issues also. And whenever a new pattern comes in the fraud transactions, we will also be able to capture it. And again, in the financial transactions, why don't we not just synthesize the data? We will take it one step ahead, and we will try to detect it. So this is done by identifying these unusual patterns which we find in the fraudulent transactions. And again, the benefits are the same as I told in the previous slide. And the next one is predictive analytics. I hope you guys have heard of predictive analytics, right? So can any one of you tell me what is predictive analytics? Or where would you use it? Anyone?
Sir?
Sorry? Yeah, so in Amazon, they might predict what will be the sales for any product or something like that. Yeah. Yep. So this can be used in a retail chain where you might need to optimize your inventory and supply chain operations. You will have prediction. You will predict about the future, wherein like you can use a generative AI model to predict how is going to be my demand for a particular product. And we can use the benefits of using generative AI model will be, again, as I told, we can store whatever is needed, whatever is in demand, and we can, by this, we will have, we will deliver things which are required to the customers, and we will save cost, and we can increase the profits using generative AI in predictive analytics. And the next thing is similar to predictive analytics, instead of predicting based on several other factors, we will be forecasting on the historical data and the trends which we have seen before. So to take an example, in case of energy demand and forecasting, we can use this to forecast what is going to be my demand in energy, and we can do this by giving historical data to the generative AI models, and then forecasting from the generative AI model. The benefits of using this will be, we can optimize the grid where we produce the electricity. There will be stability in it, and we can save the cost again here. And one of the use cases of generative AI is, which we have done in our company, is forensic analysis of email auditing. To just give you a brief idea about it, we will have emails which we are going to audit. There will be two kinds of analysis which we do. One is sentiment analysis, and the other one is keyword analysis. So based on the sentiment score, we will, if it is a negative score, we will assign it as a high risk email, and if the presence of keyword is there, we will assign it as a high risk email. And after this, there will be a manual review of these high risk emails. So the one of the drawbacks of doing this, it will take a lot of time to run the sentiment analysis and keyword analysis, and again, one person has to do the manual review on it. So we can use generative AI in this field, where this ChatGPT model, it's not just for generating text. It can be fine-tuned to any application related to natural language, which we can fine-tune it to run sentiment analysis, and we can query the database. We can search for the keywords using the generative model, and we can use it to summarize what is these bunch of emails is telling. That kind of thing we can do in generative AI. So right now we have seen all the things which ChatGPT can do. But before developing any generative AI technique, we have to also look at the ethical consideration of it. So the first one is misinformation and bias. So since the model is trained on a training data, there might be bias in the training data, right? So we might face, again, if the bias is present in the training data, it will be in the output as well. And you might have also seen sometimes ChatGPT producing wrong information as well. So we have to take into that consideration as well. And the next one is privacy and data security. So before, it might give you some sensitive information about a person or a company. So we have to take into consideration the data privacy and security as well. And the next one is potential misuse. I guess you might have seen few artists who are complaining that they are using their artistic copyrighted content to produce AI content. So this is one of the considerations which we have to take into. And accountability and transparency. As I said, copyright issue might come in, and since it's an AI model, it will be like a black box. We will not know how content is being generated or not. Next is, obviously, even though you feel it might be something which is going to revolutionize, there are limitations of it. The first one is data dependency. As I said previously, the amount of data required to train a generative AI model is very huge. So the data dependency is always a limitation in this case, and overfitting and memorizations. So it might always replicate a similar kind of content. If you go and ask ChatGPT to write me a joke, it might give you 3-4 jokes, and it might replicate the same again and again after doing that. And the next one is intensive computation. I guess if a small company want to develop a generative AI model, it would take them a lot of computational resource. That's why you see like companies like Microsoft, Google, are going ahead in this field because of the computation power they have. And the last one is lack of control. As I told, it's like a black box, and you will not know why the reason behind output which you get from the generative AI model. So in terms of future prospects, with respect to generative AI, one is enhanced creativity. You might have seen content creators who are using, you might have seen you can use this website to create presentations, that to create videos. So these kind of, you just have to think of it and give it to the AI, which will create content which will be like 3 to 4 versions of it. It will help in enhancing creativity. And the next one is improve data augmentation. As I said, in the one of the applications, we can use it to augment data, not just in the financial transaction space. It can be applied in other domains as well. Next one is ethical AI development. As I said, there are some ethical considerations which we need to take into. We obviously need to develop generative AI, which all the ethical considerations are taken. And the next one is interdisciplinary applications. Right now, you might have not seen the application of generative AI other than language models or other things, but there is going to be multiple domains which are going to use these generative AI techniques like finance, healthcare, and last is collaboration with human creativity. So, as you might have heard, I'm going to go to this slide in order to explain that. You might have seen flood of memes on Instagram or even on Twitter, where after ChatGPT came into live, all the people were talking like we might lose our job. And also, when we try to use ChatGPT, it tells when you ask think that ChatGPT knows it all, it tells buddhi bahut tej hai hamari. Also, when you ask something to ChatGPT, it tells you, "A mera expertise nahi hai, I am out." So what I'm going to infer with this is the future of generative AI lies in collaborative efforts between human and machines, leveraging AI as a creative tool rather than a replacement. I'm open for question and answers. Any questions? Thank you.